All right, we are live. Welcome everyone. My name is Dana Balicki. I'm an engagement strategist with Move the Crowd. Move the Crowd is an entrepreneurial training company for conscious entrepreneurs. I see you all starting to tune in and log on here. So for those of you who are new to this community, new to Move the Crowd, this is our space where we come together as a community of practice every month. Entrepreneurial soul coach and Move the Crowd CEO and founder, Rha Goddess, who you will meet in a moment. She breaks down a different core theme of conscious entrepreneurship. And so tonight you'll get our inspiring and thought-provoking theme of the month. You'll also get some practical tips and tools to support your big vision for your business and your life. And then there'll be time for interactive Q&A. If you are watching through the Move the Crowd website, there should be little prompts popping up on the video, prompting you to click through on the Google Plus page, and that's where you can ask your live Q&A if you didn't pre-submit one. So we'll do our best to make time to get to everybody's question and answer tonight. So tonight is all about taking stock, right? This is our December is all about taking stock, and this is really about reviewing 2014, really gleaning the lessons, moving through gratitude and acknowledgement, completion, and celebration, so that we can really leverage our best for 2015. So whatever you're building and brewing, or whatever you're not building or not brewing, there's going to be you'll see some patterns hopefully emerge tonight, because how we do anything is how we do everything. So we'll be talking about taking stock tonight, and there'll be, like I said, other themes emerging. So welcome all of you who are new, and all of you who are family and community. And I'm going to hand it over to Miss Rha Goddess, founder and CEO of Move the Crowd.
Thank you so much, Dana. And tonight I'm going to really start with the breath, because I believe that what we are moving through, particularly this time of year, is often a very intense and thick time of year. And those of you who are feeling very emotional right now know what I'm talking about. And so for some of us, this is a time of incredible joy, because we get to spend time with people we love. We get to do fun things like shop, for those of us who love to shop, and cook, for those of us who like to cook, and and just gather and be in the belly of community. And that is always good when the mood is celebratory. And so we want to acknowledge that and know that's present for many of us. And for many of us, this is also a very difficult time, and regardless of kind of how you flow during the course of the year, everybody slows down this time of the year. There is something about the rhythm and the flow of the cosmos that encourages and invites reflection. And often for many of us, this reflection time starts in October. There's a belief in certain cosmic calendars that really the year ends at the end of September, and actually we tip into the energy, the cosmic energy of the new year starting on October 1. And so, people say if you want to know what the year is going to look like, look at your October. Your month of October gives you a snapshot or a preview of what the year has in store. And so I promise I'm going to get to talking a little bit more about what we're being queued up for in 2015. And as you all know, as part of our community of practice, we are very intentional about the way we begin our year. We begin every year with a New Year's message and a yearly theme. And we are just as intentional about how we end our year. And this is our ending time, right? Our taking stock time. And so tonight, my opportunity in being with you is to really lay out the framework and then to invite those of you who may not be members of our academy or our alumni community, who are, pros at this. At this stage of the game, if you've been rolling with us more than 2 years, you kind of know the drill and where we go. But if you're new to the academy, I want to say welcome. So wonderful to have you in the house. And if you are just joining as part of our extended community, and if you've never been with us through this process, I want to also say to you, welcome. And it is my hope that in the frame that we give you, that this is something that will be of great value to you in years and years and years and years to come. So why do we take stock? Why do we as a community, and why are we so adamant as a community about creating both a very robust framework for reflection and taking that time for reflection, right? So I said to you that this is the time of year where we naturally feel the inclination to slow down, and we naturally begin to turn towards feeling reflective. This is that season, right, for us. And part of what's important to note is that often during the course of the year, as we are ripping and running and moving and dipping and diving and engaging, all kinds of things are happening to us. Does anybody hear what I'm saying? And this is kind of the point of the year where you start to look like, oh wow, did I survive that bullet attack? Right? Or you start to really think about how lucky or blessed you are if you're realizing it's beginning to dawn on you what an amazing year you've had, and you're starting to finally let in all of the blessings that have flown, right, to you and through you this year, right? But this is that time where we really begin to assess what has gone on with us, and more specifically, what has gone on with our spirits. And because, of course, we are entrepreneurial by nature and entrepreneurial by practice, what has gone on in the business of us and in the handling of our business this year, right? So I'm going to give you the frame. And what I want to say before I go there is that taking stock and having the ability to take stock is a privilege. It is a privilege. And if you are listening to this live chat, whether you're with us live or you're listening to it recorded after the fact, I want you to acknowledge and celebrate the fact that you are here, right? That no matter what kind of year you've had, if it's been an amazing, breakthrough, record-setting year, or if it has been one of those years you're like, damn, if I could give a year back, I would give this one in a heartbeat. You have survived it. And so therefore you are blessed. You are blessed. And that is the context within which we want to come into this space of reflection. Because there are many people who began this year with us in this form who are no longer with us in this form, if you know what I'm saying. So we take stock in a very sacred and auspicious way because we understand that life is precious. And we know that it is a privilege to be alive and awake. And we know that it is a privilege and an honor to be operating as conscious actors and shapers in our own lives. And so it is with that in mind, in that context, and in that form, that we engage in the sacred work of reflection called taking stock. So I now want to walk you through the 4 dimensions of how this process works. And you know how we do. At the end of our time today, you'll have a handout which will give you all of the prompts. You'll be able to download a worksheet. You'll be able to take it step by step. I'm going to invite you to give yourself at least 2 hours. Pour your favorite tea or your water or whatever you like. Put on your soft music. Close the door, put on the do not disturb sign, whatever you need to do to form that sacred path or that sacred space. Some of you may want to go into ritual, have a bath, or take a walk in nature before or after you do this process. But really honor yourself and really honor this process, right? Because it is your life. It is your life. So let's begin. The first part of taking stock, of course, is gratitude. And this is all about our ability to see all of the places and the ways and the shapes and the colors of the blessings that flowed our way this year. So for some of us, we're celebrating record financial years, or we're celebrating the client of our dreams, or we're celebrating launching a new product to rave reviews, or we're celebrating a new form of press that we didn't get before, or we're celebrating growth in general, new strategic partners or collaborators, right? That we're loving or adoring, or we're celebrating new people coming into our lives. Some of us fell in love this year. Holla. Right? We now got somebody to cozy up to and drink eggnog with this year, right? So all of these different ways that we've been blessed, new opportunities, new people, right? New doors that we were able to walk through, new insights, new understandings, all of the ways that mana has poured from the sky on our behalf, right? And we can see that in the high notes, right? The wonderful, awesome, amazing things that have happened to us this year. But then there are also those places where things got dark and twisty, but they didn't get half as bad as they could have gotten. So there are also those places of blessings where our angels looked out for us, right? Where it could have been really, really bad as opposed to just a little bump in the road. Or it could have been, off the curb side as opposed to just a little bump against the edge, right? And we want to acknowledge those blessings as well, right? Because again, life is a 360-degree proposition. So as we're looking at our blessings and as we're looking at all of the opportunities that we have to give thanks and really, really appreciate, right, how our journey unfolded this year and all of the gifts that were bestowed upon us this year, that's where we want to look. Those are some of the places we want to look. Yes? Okay, gratitude. Now we want to move on to acknowledgement. And acknowledgement, Dana knows this, is one of my favorites. So this is about performance. And where did we bring it this year? And when I say performance, you all, I'm not talking about staged and faked, and I'm talking about showing up, like showing up on the stage of life, right? So this is about acknowledging where did we really bring it this year and like ring the bell and rock the house and blow people away, right? And really, really honoring and acknowledging our brilliance and our beauty and our gifts in its highest application, in its highest form. And it's also on the other side, acknowledging where we may have fallen short, where we maybe didn't hit the mark that we had expected or we had anticipated, or we didn't quite reach the deliverable, right? We didn't quite meet the promise we made. Right? And in both of those cases where we are acknowledging, we are looking at, in the places where we brought it and we rocked it, we're looking at what were the things that made the environment conducive to us being able to bring our best. And what is it that we want to pay attention to about what was most supportive in enabling us to really bring it in our highest form. And on the side of acknowledging where we may have fallen short, we're looking at what was missing, what did not quite align, what did not provide the enabling environment for us to do what we know we were being called to do in the way we know we were being called to do it, right? So this place of acknowledgement is again about the 360-degree evaluation of how we came to the party this year. And what is it that we want to see about where we rocked? And what is it about what we want to see about where we may have flopped? Yeah? Okay. So that is acknowledgement. That is acknowledgement. The third area, crucial. Crucial. Did I say acknowledgement was my favorite? I actually think, I don't know, this one may be tied for my favorite. Is completion. And this is a huge one because let me tell y'all something. We walk around with years and years and years of things unresolved. Anybody hear what I'm saying? Wave your hand if you hear what I'm saying. Holler if you hear me. Years of things unresolved. This is also why we take this reflective time, right? Because some of us just stumble into year after year after year after year, and we're reacting to what happened in 1995. We are reacting to what happened in 2010. Anybody hear what I'm saying? Right? And so there's two aspects of completion here that I want to talk about, right? So the first aspect of completion is all about dotting your I's and crossing your T's, right? So what is that administrative work y'all been walking around in the business? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, them year-end financials, right? Maybe you need to be in your QuickBooks or in your Excel spreadsheet or looking at your budget and closing and managing whatever your accounts receivables or accounts payables are this year, right? Or maybe it's about that email you promised you were going to send, or that introduction you said you'd make, or, right, all those places, right, where we still have open energy. Anybody hear what I'm saying? Things we said we would do that we have not yet done, but have promised that we would do. And some of us, we keep promising it, but we haven't quite delivered, right? So there is a body of work there to do for each and every one of us around making sure that we're making good on our word and that we're being good stewards of the relationships and the trust that has been bestowed upon us in any of those places where we've made promises, right, of those particular kinds. But there's also this piece around finishing strong in terms of these nuts and bolts, right? And that's about how do we be meticulous around closing out the year, right? And slowing down enough to do those tedious, often detail-oriented things that will leave us really feeling fully accomplished at the end of our year, right? So that is a body of work in the context of completion. And then there's another body of work in the context of completion, which is everything to do with our relationships and everything to do with our interactions. And this is about who you got mad with this year, who you fought with this year, who you cursed, maybe behind their back this year, right? Or who you had tension with, or who there was friction around. Y'all hear what I'm saying, right? And so in some of these cases, there just may be a place where you all come together and acknowledge what happened and you agree to call it peace and move forward, right? In other cases, there may be some undelivered communication that needs to be expressed, some things that you need to say that you have not said yet, some things you need to acknowledge that you have not acknowledged to yourself and to that other person yet, right? Some fierce conversations, some authentic, courageous, real conversations that may want to be had, right, with those who are out there. There may also be some forgiveness that may want to be offered up, some appreciation, right, that may want to be offered up, which is about recognition and understanding, right, as well, right, that may want to be offered up. And that may be for that other person, and it also may be for you. Where may you need to be forgiving you around some of what went down this year? Where may you need to be in honest talk? Come to Jesus, right? Come to Buddha, come to Allah, talk with you this year, right? And so I want to name that work because that is part of your completion work, right? Your quality of relationships lives in the nature of these conversations and in the nature of these interactions. So if the relationship is poor or hollow or shallow, it is because the qualities of these interactions have not been invested in the way that they ought to be. Y'all hear what I'm saying? So the second aspect of your completion work is around your relationships and looking at what wants to be completed in the context of your relationships. Yes? Okay. And we're just going to breathe on that. And now I'm going to move you to the fourth and the final, which is celebration. Every single one of us has something to celebrate. And if we understand that life is precious, then we owe it to ourselves to find it. Be it big, be it small, be it an easy win or a hard-fought victory, we owe it to ourselves. We do not practice celebration enough. It is why many of us walk around feeling unappreciated or unseen or unrecognized or unacknowledged or unloved or unheard or unvalidated. It is because celebration is missing as a daily practice in our lives. And so you are being called in this taking stock process to take celebration quite seriously. Now, I want you to have fun. Be clear. Because celebration is absolutely about fun. And I want you to take your fun seriously. Do you hear me? So for some of you, that may be the spa. That may be cooking your favorite meal and sitting at a table with your beloveds. That may be putting on your boots and going out and running in the snow and making snow angels in the grass, or rolling down a hill, or whooping at the top of your lungs. Some of y'all like the cocktail persuasion, so you might be getting on your green apple martinis or your butterscotch martinis or whatever those things are, those little pleasures. Your dark chocolate, your free trade organic dark chocolate, right? Whatever those little pleasures are, those little things that bring you great joy. Or if you want to do it up big, right, where you gather around a group, or you gather around a community, or you convene a bunch of folks together, create the space to acknowledge what you have accomplished this year. All of the blessings and all of the lessons are worthy of your celebration. So, gratitude, acknowledgement, completion, celebration. This is your blueprint for taking stock. I invite you, I encourage you, I urge you as a conscious actor and shaper of your own reality to remember that life is precious and therefore we must take stock. Okay, Dana, I'm going to open it up if there are any questions.
Yeah, well, we had a few questions. Well, first of all, thank you for that. I always feel quite lucky I feel like we're having a conversation and, and then I realize that everyone else probably making the same face as I am. So anyone watching right now can submit a question. You should see a prompt if you're watching on the movethecrowd.me website. You should see a prompt that says, if you'd like to ask a question, click through to the Google Plus page. So if you're watching it, follow the prompts to ask a question. And I'll see it pop up here, and we'll take it if we have the time. So let's see. I've got a couple of questions here, Rha. Here's one from Emily. How do you know when it is time to take stock and slow the energy down, or whether you are just being stuck, slack, or not accountable?
This is really beautiful because what you're raising or pointing to is this muscle that we've developed or not developed around truth-telling with ourselves, right? So, when we slow down and we really get still and we really like are willing to press the pause button on all of what the normal distractions might be, there are some very important questions we get to ask ourselves, right? So often when people say to me, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, it's code word for I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. Right? And
The
so
truth.
that resonates with you, beloved, right? You know, whether or not, you know, this is about your fear. And if it is about your fear, then this opportunity to really slow down is about creating a sacred enough space within you and you, right? With you and you, to be able to ask yourself gently, tenderly, like, what am I afraid of, right? Or what am I being called to, right? Because often we've got fear around where we're being called to action. Anybody hear what I'm saying? Whether it's being called to action around a particular work scenario, or whether we're being called to action around a particular relationship, or whether we're being called to action around something that is happening in our world, right? And Dana, I promised Dana that I was going to talk about what's been going on in our world before we leave each other tonight, and I will. But back into your question, right, about how do we discern, this is about building the muscle, and we build the muscle through practice. So if slowing down and really like moving out the distractions is a new practice for you, then that's something you want to begin to work on. Because some of us say we slow down, but then we cut on the television. Or we slow down and we're surfing our phone and we think that that's rest. Or we think that that's decompressing. Or we think that that's downtime. Or we think that that's quiet time. And that is so not the case, right? Or talking, chatting with our friends, no matter how enjoyable that might be, right? There needs to be space in your life where there is nothing but you and you. And the other you is the you that is connected to source, whatever we call it. All providing source, creator, God, universe, Allah, right? Whatever we call it, Yemaya, right? It is about you being able to listen, like the little you being able to hear the big you. Yes, the one that holds the truth of your soul, the one that speaks right from that soul place. So your ability to discern the difference between taking stock and running, right, lives in your ability to actually create genuine stillness and quietness in your being and in your life. So if you can get there, the questions that you need to address, you need to face, you need to confront will be waiting for you. I promise you. Okay? I hope that was helpful, beloved.
Thanks, Rha. So there's a couple questions that are sort of around the same thing. So I'll ask that, and then we'll see if anything else comes up, and then we'll see what it feels like to wrap, because I know there are a couple other things you wanted to say. So this question comes in from Sally. How can I make myself do the paperwork, the filing, the follow-up that is so critical to being successful, right? i.e. completion, third step, right?
Yes, I hear you, Sally. I'm high-fiving you, mama. So I have a few tricks. So one is I put on my favorite music, my favorite album. Like, so those of y'all who know me well, I've been bumping Molly music all year. I Am Mr. Energy. I just love that new album. I think it's not even new anymore, but I mean, it came out probably June, July. But I just, when I have something that I know I've been avoiding that's tedious or detail-oriented, I put my Molly music on, and I just wiggle in my chair, girlfriend, and I get it done. The other thing I want you to notice, right? So one is like, how do you make it more pleasurable? How do you make it more fun, right? In other words, what's the energy that you bring to it that enables you to get through it, right? The other thing you notice is, am I giving myself enough time, right? Sometimes there are certain things where we really do need 2 to 3 hours of time where, we spend the first 30 minutes quieting our mind. Come on, y'all, focusing, going to get that extra soda or that extra whatever, right? Or tea, right? Getting comfortable in the chair. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Checking our voicemail, all that drama, right? We usually take about 30 minutes to do that, right? When we're avoiding the admin stuff. So we need to block 2 or 3 hours of time because sometimes it just takes us time to really get focused, to really be willing to delve into it. And then often what we find is once we get into it, it's not as bad as we thought it was, right? So blocking that time and really safeguarding that time, not letting anything infringe on that time is really, really important. And I want to name that because over these next 4 weeks, right, you can block a couple of hours every week where you're just focused on these tying up the loose ends, right? Dotting the I's, crossing the T's, tying up the loose ends. The other thing I want to say is if you have support or you have the ability to have support, bring in support, whether that's a virtual assistant or an admin person or some really phenomenal, enterprising young college student or high school student who will give you 3 or 4 hours and work with you so you can go through things. Like, I'm fortunate. I have amazing people who support me, like Lillian and Karina and Luz, right? So that when I need to get into that detail-oriented stuff, those women are there for me, and we're doing it together. And there's also something about the camaraderie and the collaboration that makes the work seem a little lighter, right? So those are some of the ways that you can help move it, and then just keep it real with yourself. Like, yo, I got to do this if I really want to be successful. It is really important that I pay attention to these other aspects of my business, whether I outsource them, whether I bring in support, whether I put on rockin' music, whether I pour my favorite beverage, like however I need to get to it, to do it, I got to get to it. Okay, I hope that was helpful.
Thank you. And for those of you, hopefully you can see, I posted the link to Mali Music, Rha's secret.
Enjoy.
Yes. Yeah. So we're at a couple minutes after 8. I don't see any other questions coming in. I do have a couple others, but I think just in honoring our time, right, keeping it to about 30 minutes, and I know there's a couple other things that we wanted to say before closing.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is that I really hope that as you take stock this year, you're really looking at where was support for you and whether or not you had strong support or whether there was something in your support that was to be desired. And it is my hope that you make a conscious commitment to address any place where support was missing. I can't stress this enough because we live in a culture that is so maverick in its design, and it is not healthy to assume a go-it-alone attitude, particularly when you are engaging in major life decisions or major business decisions, right? That are really rooted in the things that are most important to you. Community is so very, very important. And I believe we are like, in water in the desert, right? It's like arid dry for so many of us around community. Being in circles of like-minded souls, people who share our vision, who share our commitment, people who share our hustle, our capacity to get stuff done, not just talk a whole lot of smack, but actually like willing to get some stuff done, right? And so I want to name those things, that community and support, that if it was missing for you this year, or if it was lacking for you in any way this year, I want to ask you to make a commitment to yourself to be well supported in 2015, to be well surrounded in 2015, well encircled, to be in beloved communion, right? Next year, like nobody's business, right? Important, especially in these times. It is so important that we find each other. And it is so important that we get what we need to do the sacred work. And I know that every single one of you out there is committed to doing what is your work, right? So it is so important that you enable an environment and you create an environment and you're diligent and vigilant about creating an environment that is going to be conducive to your success, right? Okay, so you get that. The second thing I want to say is that 2015 is going to be all about courage and currency. And I promise that in my New Year's message, I'm going to go there. But here's what I want you to know, because we're already in the energy of it. And a lot of you are watching the news and you're seeing the things that I'm seeing, and you're having interactions that feel very crazy and off the wall. Raise your hand, just wave if you know what I'm saying, where it's like people are kind of losing their minds and you don't even understand where it's coming from and it's coming out of left field. Or perhaps you are sharing a deep, deep disappointment in our leadership, right? Or who has been ordained to lead us, and what has felt like a lack of leadership, right? Or perhaps you are heartbroken, as many of us are, about what has been happening in our streets, right? As it relates to these issues of police and community and the disconnect, the rampant epidemic disconnect that is leaving dozens and dozens and dozens of innocent people, or dozens and dozens of hardworking people laying flat in the street. What I want you to know is that we are being called in a way like we have never been called before to courage, to courage, to the next level of citizenship. It is no longer an option to be complacent. And I really want you all to hear this. It is no longer an option to be checked out. And so if you feel like the universe is rocking your cage, it is because it is. And what you are being told is that now is the time. Our greatest gifts and talents are needed now. And the universe is not going to wait any longer. So we can either choose to honor what we are being called to do, what we are being urged to do, or we can choose to turn away from it. But I promise you, if you turn away, that the consequences are going to be great. Some of us are going to rise to our highest gifts, which is what we're being called to do. But if I'm also honest, some of us are going to be roadkill. And it is unfortunate and it is sad to say that, because that is not what we want to hear. Am I right? But the truth is that we are at a rubber meets the road moment in our humanity. And we are either going to rise to the occasion or we will falter. I know your commitment to being that contribution is why you're here, is why we're in this conversation together. It is why this community of practice exists, right? To support and foster your ability to be in your highest contribution. So whatever is nagging at you or tugging at you or calling at you, whatever it is that you may be feeling the desire to rage against or scream out about or stand up and shout at the top of your lungs or dance about, however spirit moves you, you are being called to courage. You are being called to courage, and you will practice courage in 2015, and you will experience the bounty, the richness of what shows up and what unfolds when we stand in our true power. So as much as we can cry about Ferguson, we can also dance, because there is a generation of leaders coming out of that community that is about to blow this nation away. And I want you to watch those souls rise, because the work is moving through them Love is moving through them. Light is moving through them. And it is moving through you. So the opportunity for us in our citizenship is to come to the light in ourselves and in each other, and to connect our collective and respective light so that the energy can get brighter, so that the vibration can rise, so that the transformation that we want to see and that we want to be in our world really becomes possible. I love you. I support you. We are here for you. Have an amazing, amazing, delicious holiday season. Celebrate, enjoy, reflect, acknowledge, right? Give thanks. And know that we will be here with you, waiting for you in 2015. Be well.
Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. You'll be able to watch the recast of this from the page on the website that you received when you signed up. It'll also be up on our YouTube site as well, and our YouTube channel. And if you just go to youtube.com/Rha Goddess, you will find a recast of this and links to the tools to support you in your taking stock process.
Happy holidays, Day Day.
Happy holidays, Miss Rha. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you. Good night.